You William Blake?
Yes, I am. Do you know my poetry?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros Podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I am joined by my co-hosts.
Abraham.
And Nick.
How y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, doing really good.
Good.
Good
I'm
day,
glad to
chill
hear it.
day.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was a nice day today.
It was.
was.
It was so clear outside. The wind was great.
It felt amazing outside.
Yep.
It was nice to be able to take my walks
Mm-hmm.
on my breaks and be like, man, it feels great out here.
It felt like an actual spring day
Mm.
because I think this coming up weekend, it's supposed to be like 90, 98.
Yeah,
And
which
it's
is
not even summer yet.
No.
yeah, which is the hit and miss of living in the valley.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, dude, I wish it stayed like this forever.
Like
Mhm.
today,
And then-
if it stayed
yeah.
like this today.
Because it's like overcast, dude.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And
It
then
was so nice today.
And then the summers come and it's like 112. And I'm outside and I'm all, yeah.
Freaking SpongeBob when you need water.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like gasping for air because of how hot it is.
yeah.
Imagine that while working in almonds.
Yeah. I know. I did it when I worked on a turkey farm.
Dude.
Like,
Nick, you got to do that.
listen, working on a turkey farm when I was in high school
Smells
it
and-
smells, and it solidified the reason of why I wanted to go to school.
You don't want to be in manual labor like that?
No.
You know, there's days though I do miss working in manual labor, and specifically because I was by myself and I had fun.
Mm.
Well, I can also like
it kept me fit. That's
it
one of
would
the
keep
reasons
you,
why
it
I
would
liked
keep you
it.
fit, and I would say like it
Also,
also
the
gives you a
cheddar
sense,
when it comes with it.
it gives you a sense of purpose too. Like you like
That's true.
can look at things and be like, I did that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Like I go by houses and I'm like, oh, I did the flooring there. Oh, I know that.
That's how I am with irrigation.
I
Because
know
there's
how-
a lot of fields over here that I did irrigation for these almonds, for these almond farmers, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. Your sprinkler system wouldn't happen without me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did that.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that a little bit.
I did a
if you ate
lot.
turkey, I helped. I helped
Wait,
raise
what,
those.
what years? If you ate turkey between this time and this time, you deserve financial compensation.
Yeah,
Because Isaiah worked there.
yeah. If you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma,
Dude, we're going to hear that in like 10 years with this COVID vaccine. Watch. I'm going to grow my
I don't
tail.
know, man. We'll find out.
I'm about to say I'm looking at turkey recalls.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah.
Good.
Ran a few errands, and then I watched this amazing movie.
I was gonna say we had a good night's sleep because
Yeah,
it's
this
pretty
film-
easy to
this-
fall asleep.
This film
to.
put me to sleep,
Yeah,
bro.
seriously.
I was trying to stay awake to this one, man.
Yeah.
And I don't ever really like ragging on movies,
Yeah.
and especially for ones that I've only seen once. But like, man,
This one's kind of easy too.
this movie, man, the whole time I was just like, like just
I
waiting,
wish-
dude. Like just waiting.
Drooling at the mouth.
Like
waiting.
no, like honestly, like there were points where I was sitting in my bed and I felt myself drooping and my neck would be like, oh man,
Yeah.
I need to put my
Dude,
head up.
this
a
is
little
a movie
bit.
I'm
Like,
surprised neither of you texted and they're like, bro, what is this movie? Because the only text that we got from each other was Nick saying, bro, Alfred Molina's in this movie. That's the only thing
Yeah.
I knew about
I
this
didn't even
movie.
know.
I had high hopes. That's why, dude.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect going into this.
I didn't either.
Well, first off, I mean, let's talk about the film that we're
Yeah,
even
so the
talking
film
about
is-
today.
It's called Dead Man. It came out in 1995. That is written and directed by Jim Jarmusch. I hope I didn't butcher that. And it's essentially about a guy who travels somewhere for a job and kills someone and he's trying to escape that or hide from that and finds himself on this wild spiritual journey with this Native American
named Nobody.
named Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the movie.
Yeah, and we just kind of follow along with this character as he goes on this journey.
Yeah.
Randomly meeting hobos. Just the most random encounters that you can have on a Western journey.
Yeah,
It pretty much happens here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the whole time, like when the credits were rolling, in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
it started naming some of the people, and like immediately I noticed Iggy Pop,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, Iggy Pop is in this movie? What the heck? And then whenever I saw him, I was just like, what the heck is he doing here? Like, that makes no sense. And then like I also saw like big names like Billy Bob Thornton,
Mm-hmm.
and being like, oh yeah, what is he doing in this movie? And then he plays such a minor role.
Yep.
Like I was like, that's weird to have such big names like play such little roles.
Yeah, I think there was only three that I knew, which was Johnny Depp, Iggy Pop, and Alfred Molina, and they all Iggy Pop and Alfred Molina just played such small roles that it was just like I would even put that as them being in the movie of how small it was.
Same thing with like John Hurt
True.
in
Yeah.
the beginning, and like I mean there were a couple other cameos, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Like the whole time you're like, oh whoa, here's a super noticeable person, and then you never see them again.
No.
Yeah.
It's like it's very strange.
I don't know. I read all the reviews going into this, and it kind of makes me feel like I went into it like with information missing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know anything about William Blake,
No.
which is the main character's name. I guess he's like a reincarnation or
Something.
he just gets characterized as William Blake. I don't know if he's supposed to be him
if
or
he's
not.
actually supposed to be the person or not.
Yeah.
Because William Blake is a poet.
He's an actual real life poet
in real life.
and he was super influential in his time, and I know nothing about him.
Me either.
So I went into this knowing nothing, and it hinges heavily on his poetry, some of his artwork, some of like the referencing back to some of his works, and I'm just sitting here going, bro, I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I'm looking at the reviews right now on IMDb, and a lot of them are like 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
See, but
Nines.
that's someone who's probably well steeped in poetry and literature and all that
Or-
stuff, and they're like, I get these references. It's so rewarding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm just sitting here like, you know that there's that one quote where he goes, I can't understand one single word that you're saying to me or something like
Yeah.
that. I feel like that.
Yeah.
I felt exactly like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I get that.
so we might be a little savage.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think
You'll
this
find
is gonna be a
out.
good episode.
yeah.
All right. Well, I believe this movie. Well, as of right now, it is streaming on HBO Max. So if you do have HBO Max, go check it out if you do want to, or if you get a couple minutes into the movie or into this review or podcast, and you're like, man, I don't even know if I want to check that out. That's your call, man. You do what you want to do. But nonetheless, it is on HBO Max, and that is where we all watched it, I'm assuming.
Yep.
So go check it out if you do want to. I think we'll probably get into spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't.
I have
I-
some favorite scenes or some things I want to bring
I
up
have
and
none.
talk to you guys
Okay.
I
about.
have none.
Okay. I just when it comes to like thinking about spoilers for this movie, I just can't think of anything that'd be like, oh man, like that's a big spoiler.
Yeah,
you know?
because you showed us the trailer.
The trailer kind of.
the trailer gives you literally
movie.
everything you need to know about the movie. Like
Yeah.
if you watch the trailer, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'd watched that whole movie within maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
There was some scenes that kind of surprised me, but I guess they would be a little bit more towards the bro moment category.
okay.
But
Well, let's dive into it a little bit.
yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, Abe, since this was your pick, you want to give us your first favorite scene? If you have one?
I do not have any.
You want to pass it off to me?
I'm gonna pass it off to you because I got none.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So my thinking for this is the intro. I like the intro.
It
And
was
I-
bizarre, and that's why I didn't write it down. Because usually intros to movies, most intros to all the movies we like, most movies,
They
What am I-
capture your interest, right?
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
hook you.
yes, and
And
I
I
just thought it
was
so bizarre.
I will say it was very bizarre, but it did. It set up. There was like a really good promise of you got this man. He's sitting in a train, and I don't even know how long the sequence is.
Yeah, I liked the idea of time passing.
Yeah, I really
Right?
enjoyed
Like
how
the
they showed
fade
it.
to black, and then it'd cut back to him. He wakes up, and there's all new people on the cart.
Yep, and it looks out, and we see all new terrain,
Yeah.
and it was really interesting because I was sitting there going, okay, this is our protagonist. What is he doing here? Why is he on this train? Why is it showing us for so long? Like, it was setting up these really interesting questions.
Yeah.
Because whenever I hear dead man, I think, okay. My initial thought was, okay, all of these people on the train car, are they just like apparitions? Are they just like dead men walking?
Yeah.
Or, it kind of got me interested in what this film could offer.
Yeah.
And then you get that soundtrack of Neil Young,
Yeah.
playing his
Blaring
guitar.
on the guitar.
And for the first half of the movie, man, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the soundtrack, what they were kind of telling with the story, and then I realized that that's it.
Yeah, I think I fell into the same boat because genuinely the first half, like on that whole train ride, I'm like, okay, like we're understanding this character's motivations,
Yeah.
a little bit about him. He doesn't have a wife. His fiance left him. He is going to travel to this other far place to get a job. He has no money because his parents have died, and he spent all his money on the funeral. And so he's leaving everything that he has and banking on this job. So he takes this huge long ride, goes to this town of Machine, and is hoping that he's going to get a job. And then whenever he pulls up to the town of Machine, it's like this big, rough town. It's nasty. It's muddy.
Yes.
There's like a ton of trappers and cowboys and hunters.
And he's in this fine dress suit with the little top hat.
Yeah, and he looks completely out of place, right? Like all the way up until like whenever he eventually kills the guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm invested. I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, like, oh man, that sucks. Like he came all this way. He doesn't get the job.
Yeah.
And you know, he spends his last bit of money on some alcohol. He meets this woman who I would assume is like a prostitute, right?
I would assume.
Like she
I
was
think
in there.
She was a prostitute.
Or yeah, he says like there's a character
some
that says that she was, but
Yeah.
now she's kind of like selling flowers and stuff on the side and all that stuff. And then you know they meet, they take a liking to one another. They
set it up, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
what we
I thought
do,
it was
what-
perfect.
Yeah, what we do is we assume that you know they become intimate with one another, and then all of a sudden this guy walks in, and we find out that it's this woman's fiance who she had previously left.
Yes.
And then, you know, he goes to the extreme and kills her.
because
And
it's
then-
her fault, though.
yeah.
She straight up says, "I never loved you," and then he just straight up goes, "Whoop, poof."
Yeah, it straight up pulls a gun on her. She jumps in front of the bullet. No,
Man.
he pulls a gun to shoot homeboy, and she
Yeah.
goes and jumps in front of him and kills her, and then the bullet goes into him.
Yep.
Gets lodged there, and then homeboy kills him in defense. And then after that, he runs off, and he's just
Off into the distance.
That's where it
he
kind
runs
of-
off, and then it's kind of like, okay, I meet this guy,
It peters
and
out.
then we ride around on our horses for a really long time.
really going absolutely nowhere. Nobody's saying anything.
and like, oh, now there are these three guys that they're after me because I have a bounty on my head. I'm wanted for $500.
Bro, do you
Like,
know immediately what I thought when, so our main character, his name is Bill, but he also goes by William.
William
which is
Blake.
William Blake. Sorry, not Bake. I hate to say it like this, but when he got to the town of Machine, I immediately thought of when us three were playing Red Dead. And
That's exactly what it felt like to me. Serious.
And when William is a pay to play player.
okay.
And so he's just like, I got all this money. That's why he's dressed up like that. That's what I thought. I was like, man,
I
he
always
He's
doesn't
got all the
belong
gold
there.
bars.
Yeah.
I was immediately thinking of like a low player, like a new one, and then all the high players are just bullying him.
Yeah.
because he's low.
But he's got all the dead eye though. He's going.
Yeah.
He doesn't miss a shot, or he misses
Yeah.
a few shots, but somehow he survives. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Every single shootout he's in.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wanted to bring up the intro just because I think it had a really good promise of what the movie was going to be.
Yeah.
And it's in all black and white, and it's got a lot of character when it comes to some of the dialogue, especially when he's in the train car and he's sitting there and it's been a couple minutes. And this guy, he seems to have been shoveling coal.
Bruh.
It's Marty McFly's dad.
Is it really?
Yeah.
He walks in. He almost looks like a dead man, which is initially why I was like, oh, maybe this guy's the dead man.
Yeah.
Because he comes and he talks like in poetry.
Yeah.
And he's
He's
talking-
all, why did you come all this way to hell?
Yeah.
And so you're like, at first when I first watched it, I'm like, oh man, he just hates this place.
Mm.
But you know, after reading some analysis on it and everything, it's kind of like, oh, is this guy supposed to be like, you know, like a Grim Reaper type character? You know?
They set it up a little bit because he's all dirty, but you know you can kind of say, oh, maybe he's dead, you know. But he's talking to him like, oh, your wife left you for someone else. Like he knew information about this William Blake that we didn't know, and I don't know what they were setting up this interesting dynamic throughout the whole movie. You know what I mean? I thought this is how it was gonna be,
Yeah.
but it does peter out.
Yeah.
But the intro I think was effective, at least getting me to question things.
It was very solid in setting everything up,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
it kind of just falls downhill.
Yeah.
The only favorite scene that I have is whenever we meet Nobody.
Okay.
When we meet him, they've been together for a while now, and Nobody says that he's going to start smoking some peyote.
Mm.
And the reason that I liked this scene is because we start to understand that Nobody is trying to teach. He's trying to teach William some things that William is not listening to, and so like he takes his glasses, and he's
Maybe
smoking.
you'll see
and stuff
better
and
without them.
Yeah, and he's smoking this stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, like my people used to do this stuff, and they would see images and stuff like that, and everything that would be granted to them by spirits and all this stuff. And he looks at William, and he sees this like skull fade over his face, and then back. And so I don't know. I just immediately liked that part because this movie is full of style. Like, and that's the thing that sucks is like if you rely on style over substance, a majority of the time you're gonna get a movie that feels flat,
So incredibly
or
paper
like
thin.
that feels just like empty.
Yeah.
It's got this pretty exterior and everything, but when you get into the meat of it, it's just dry. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing really there to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked this sequence just because that style was prevalent, and then it felt like there was something that was being said. Like, Nobody is recognizing that this character, William Blake, truly is a dead man, right? And, he's speaking to him in all these metaphorical things and saying all these things that William doesn't understand, like the whole, I can't see without my glasses, and he says, perhaps you'll see better without them, and trying to get him to see that, like, some things aren't always necessarily what they seem, or sometimes, you need to take a step back and learn from somebody else rather than assuming that you have all the answers.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. I also enjoyed Nobody continually mistaking William Blake for the poet, and him being like, "Well, you wrote that poem,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "I'm not a poet. Like I have no, I don't write poetry. I have no idea what that is."
Yeah.
And it's also a nice touch, just that whole scene with like Neil Young's score going on in the background and him just like riffing on the guitar. It all blends together real nicely for what I would say is probably just my favorite scene of the whole film.
That's all you had there?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Nobody's kind of backstory. Did you like that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. This is kind of when he is explaining, what nobody means. I can't remember the quote
It's like
exactly.
ex boucher or something like that. It means like
Talks loud but says nothing.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yes. I
And
think you're pretty close on there.
He goes to explain that he was in a tribe where he was born with mixed blood, mixed tribes, and the tribe that he was in looked very against that. They were pretty much against that, and they treated him like an outcast. And I can't remember if his village got burned down or something.
It looked like
he got like kidnapped.
He did. He got kidnapped. Oh yeah,
because that guy butts him with the head of the gun and it doesn't even connect.
It doesn't connect at all. No. And he passes out, but he goes on to explain that he goes from place to place, and he's picking stuff up. He's learning stuff. He's learning about all the white men and how evil they are and all that stuff. And then he ends up reading a book. Well, he goes to different places, and then he goes across the Great Sea, and then he finds the book of William Blake, and it opens his eyes, and it kind of forces him to take back his freedom. And he ends up escaping. He comes back over the Red Sea and
sees all the atrocities that have been perpetrated against his people.
Yeah, and I like that little bit of meat for this character.
Yeah.
It kind of shows him like his motives of why he is doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate that, but it's just, I don't know, just something that I appreciate. It wasn't my favorite scene.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so one of my truly favorite scenes, only because of how absolutely ridiculous it is the getting to introduce to the hobos.
Oh, the three guys that are doing Goldilocks.
Yeah.
And the three bears.
I did not know kind of what role they had to play in this. It kind of just, because I guess if you don't know already, this film is like, it goes like 1 to 5 minutes of solid scenes, and then it'll fade to black.
Yeah.
And then it'll go 1 to 5 minutes of solid scenes and then fade to black. Right? So we're going through the movie, and this is one of those 1 to 5 minute
like
blocks.
chapters.
Yeah.
It seems
It's
like it a
almost
little
like,
bit.
or like
It seems like it, but the chapters have nothing to do with one another. It feels like
literally.
Pretty much nothing.
It's its own story. Each cut
like
is
each
its
little
own story.
sliver, and like sometimes there will be a sliver where it's just like 1 minute of some guys being like, "Yeah, back at home I used to rope cattle," and they're like, "Oh really? Yeah, it was a mighty good time." Fade to black.
Fade to black.
Like, it's just like,
Neil
what
Young,
was that?
Neil
dude?
Young coming
And
in
he's just going, like, and it's like, why do they need to be in there? Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it does. But this is one of the scenes that I appreciated only because I was like, who are these guys? Why are they getting so much character right now? How are they going to play into the story? But it's these three like random hobos and they're making beans with possums and
With
And they're talking
Takwachi,
about
dude.
they're talking about Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
yeah.
Dude, and I died laughing actually when one of the hobos says, "Go, I got some beans that Goldilocks hasn't even tasted of,"
Yeah.
and then that's when he goes, "Oh yeah, beans with possum in it," and I was like,
Yeah, and the one guy goes, "These beans suck." And the other guy's like, "I don't care what anybody else says. You make the best pot of beans."
Yeah.
And it's just like this small interaction, and he ends up like pulling out the Bible and talks about the Philistines and he,
"What's
you know,
a Philistine?"
yeah, yeah. He talks to like about he's doing their prayer, right?
Yeah.
And then what we get another one of those intercut scenes is nobody saying, "Oh, these guys, this is a test. You go down there. You're a white man. You can you can get along with them." He's like, "You go and do it." And he goes, "I don't really want to, but sure, I will." And he goes down, and tell me what you thought that
They were gonna do to him.
they were gonna do to him.
So
I
at
felt
first
like they
I
were
thought
gonna like take advantage of him.
really.
He
That's
kind
what I
of
thought.
claimed him.
It feels like it. They're like, no, this one's mine.
Don't touch his hair.
Yeah, and they're like, oh,
Oh.
his hair is so soft.
It's
Like,
how do you get your
they
hair
started,
soft like that?
Yeah, and they started like encroaching on his personal space, and people start claiming him, like you guys said, and I felt like they were like,
At first I thought, and I know I'm completely wrong, but I thought it was the bounty hunters.
Mm,
oh, okay.
I thought it was going to be a little bit of their backstory, but it wasn't.
no. Backstory is the bounty hunters get a little bit different. I was so surprised at what they did with the bounty hunters. I didn't understand where they were going to go with that situation, but
Me either.
that's part of the times where the film really caught me off guard, because I did not expect. I didn't expect anything about the bounty hunters and what happens to them.
Yeah.
But going back to the hobos, they get into this absolutely ridiculous shootout where they start asking him, "Well, who'd you come with?" And of course he says, "Nobody."
Yeah.
And he's claiming him, and one guy's like, "You got the last one, I want this one." And he pulls a gun out and he goes, "You know what? I'm just gonna shoot you." And the guy's like, "All right, then do it.
Do it.
Do it, then."
He's all holding his hands behind his back, and he shoots him in the foot.
He shoot, dude.
He's all, "Good God, you did it!"
I'm hit. Yeah, I'm hit. It was so ridiculous how that whole thing went down.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if they were gonna shoot. Were they gonna shoot him?
Yeah, and he's like,
They
I
were
guess
going
nobody.
to.
He said, I guess nobody's getting you for tonight, or something like that. And he's about to shoot him,
And
then
that's
and
when nobody shows
comes
up.
out and freaking goes,
oh, I love that scene where he just goes,
yeah, shoots him
yeah.
or kills that guy, and then
Bill
Um,
gets his gun.
yeah, and shoots one of the other guys, and then Iggy Pop, the guy that's playing the other hobos, struggling to try to freaking load his gun, and then he gets killed too.
That's everyone in this film. They just straight up sit there and point their gun. They
Yeah.
don't try to hide. They don't duck. They don't move. They're
Nothing.
straight up just saying,
They're all, "You're surrounded."
Yeah,
Like,
you're like,
just sit there.
It's the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, and they're just sitting there,
He
and it's
goes,
like, you
"Do
got
you-
nowhere to go.
"Do you know my poetry?" Wah, bam, bam.
Yeah.
You could. Why are you waiting? He says wanted, alive or dead. Literally,
Yeah.
just shoot him.
And he literally says, "Are you William Blake?" "Yes." "Do you know my poetry?" Immediately it would have been all, boom.
Yeah, dude. It's
"Are you William Blake?" "Yes." Ding. All right, here's your guy, dude. Give me $500. Like, no question.
no question. So that's why whenever I see them die, I'm like,
Well, they had it coming.
they had it
Yeah.
coming, bro. You could have at least ducked.
Yeah.
Like you had every opportunity to survive.
And also, how the heck wouldn't you suspect? Like, wouldn't you be freaked out if because they're in the middle of nowhere, they're camping in the middle of nowhere, and some random guy approaches you, bro? I'm shooting you on sight if I see you. Like, I'm in the middle of the nowhere. What are you doing? Like
Yeah.
sneaking up on me like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it truly does remind me of a Red Dead Redemption mission.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah. This is like a side quest.
Yeah.
Bro, I
But-
missed that game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else. I enjoyed the Trading Post scene
Okay, with Alfred.
with Alfred Molina. Yeah, he was the Trading Post guy. It's, we get this whole plot of, because we think that nobody is like a spiritual guide, right? And once he takes the drugs and he notices that he's gonna be he either is a dead man or is gonna be a dead man at some point.
Yeah.
He decides to leave him. I'm not exactly sure why he does that, but he does. And William he has to go and survive on his own. He shoots a couple more lawmen. He's getting through. He kind of has that makeup
Yeah.
on his cheeks. And I don't know what he's becoming.
I thought it was the greater than, lesser than symbol.
He's becoming something.
He's becoming a mathematician.
Yeah. So he ends up finding nobody. And they go to this trading post, and they need to get ammo. They need to get
This is Red Dead, dude.
they need to get a canoe.
Yeah.
And they go in, and we see Alfred Molina. He's like the clerk guy, and we kind of see this a little bit of like racism there.
Yeah.
It's
'Cause he won't sell nobody tobacco.
yeah, and throughout the whole film, everybody is saying, "Do you have any tobacco?"
You have tobacco? And he's like, no, I don't smoke.
Every
whole-
freaking buddy says
Why?
that.
Everyone asks.
That's got to be the
William.
currency. Like, that has to be the most expensive thing back then.
Well, yeah, it was sought after back then. That was something that was a very high very high commodity, I
Yeah.
guess is what you would say. But
Mhm.
it's just funny, man, that they continually ask him, "Do you have any tobacco?" And he's all, "No, I don't smoke."
Even the girl that he met in the beginning.
It's got to mean something.
it has to.
It has to mean something. I'm just not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
But he gets in there. Alfred Molina is, saying, "Oh, I'm not going to sell you any. I don't have anything. These tins, they're empty, blah, blah, blah." And then William comes up and he goes, "Let me get some tobacco." And immediately the guy's
he's
like,
all, "Well, I got some from my personal collection."
yeah, what a freaking...
Yeah.
Immediately could see right through it. And they're like these like intertwined. I've
Yeah,
never
well,
seen
like
tobacco
knots.
look like that.
Yeah.
It looked cool. And immediately he's like, "You're William Blake, aren't you?" And he acts like a big fan. He goes, "Let me get your signature." And he pulls out the paper. And I don't know what his plan was.
He's going to pull it out and shoot him.
But he doesn't, right?
No.
He
William catches on to him and goes, "Wah!" Stabs
That's
him.
my autograph. And takes control of the situation.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah. That was a good one, too. It was just one of those things. I think nobody says something too. He like repeats some poetry that William Blake writes, and he says like, "Thou visions of Christ" or something like that, or "the visions of my enemy" or something like that. And
Yeah.
the guy immediately is like, "Oh, I'm not giving you any tobacco. I'm not selling you nothing." And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's more towards the end of the movie, but that was one of the ones I was like, I like this action scene right here.
Yeah.
Because then he ends up going to get the canoe, and he gets shot
Yeah.
through his like
By some
fur.
random person.
Some random person.
Like,
These,
he's never addressed in the film. It's not the bounty hunter. It's just some random that shoots him in the arm, and then he just gets in the boat and goes.
But I liked it, dude. Some of the action and some of the like violent scenes they show.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of stuff,
Yeah.
which I thought was good.
For that one, whenever the marshal gets shot, and then he goes, "Ah," and shoots his partner. I laughed at that part.
One of my pro moments,
'Cause
dude.
We'll let's get into it. We'll if you guys have no more favorite scenes.
I don't.
That's it.
Okay. Let's get into best quotes. I have one, and it's from nobody, and it's him quoting a William Blake poem where he says, "Every night and every morn, some to misery are born. Every morn and every night, some are born to sweet delight. Some are born to sweet delight, some are born to endless night."
Mm.
Yeah, I had that one too, but I'll say the one that you said about the vision of Christ, and it says that nobody says. He goes, "The vision of Christ that thou dost see is my vision's greatest enemy."
Mm. I have one from nobody as well, and he's talking about how he says, "Do you know how to shoot that gun?" And he says,
yeah.
he says no or something, and then he goes, "That weapon will replace your tongue. You will learn to speak through it, and your poetry will now be written in blood." And that leads into one of my other quotes where he gets, he's with the lawman, and the lawman goes, "Are you William Blake?" And he goes, "Yes, I am. Do you know my poetry?"
Yeah.
And immediately I was like, "Ooh, this is
Yeah.
good. That was a good little retort there."
Yeah.
And he goes and shoots him.
Yeah.
But I like that.
Okay. Any other best quotes?
That's it for me.
All right. Well, let's get into some bro moments then.
My first bro moment is in the beginning of the movie when that guy opens the furnace, and bro, straight up burns off his eyebrows.
Yeah, dude, that fire goes right up his face.
Like literally, I said, bro, his eyebrows gotta be burned off.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. And then you see him come back, and I looked at his eyebrows. He has none.
Yeah. Just got black all over his face.
That's
Yeah.
the
My first bro moment is whenever all those trappers start shooting the buffalo
Out
from
of the train.
out of the train,
random.
just out of nowhere.
It's just
yeah, and the guy's just all. The government said that if they killed at least 1 million or something like that, they would get paid for it. And it's like they're all just out there, just from a moving car. Like they're not going to be able to go get the pelts or anything. They're just poof, 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 just shooting all the buffalo.
was just overpopulation, I guess.
Well, I
Yeah.
thought so. At the time, I think historically, bison and buffalo used to be a big food source for Native Americans.
Oh.
So I think a lot of trappers and everything they would like kill off a lot of them to like
So the Native
dwindle down a lot of the Native Americans' food supply, so that way they weren't able to eat as much, and they
I
would
see.
become less of a quote unquote problem.
I see. That makes it even
Not
worse.
not my beliefs.
Yeah.
But yeah. My other one, immediately, dude. Whenever he gets off the train into the town of Machine, this was a literal. I usually don't have moments in movies where I pause it and I go, "What the hell?" like what the hell? William Blake is walking through town and he's seeing how rough this town is. There's like a trapper. He's got all these skulls and pelts and stuff and everything. And then this woman with this baby, and she's all looking at him like, watching him walk by. And he keeps walking. There's like a pig that he gets scared of and he runs by.
Yeah.
And then he looks over to the right and there's a guy just getting oral. Yeah, dude, for real, he's just getting it.
Using the grapefruit challenge.
Yeah, and he's just going in like in front of everybody, just in public. And the guy
Not even trying to make it discreet.
He looks
Yeah.
at him and doesn't he pull a
William,
gun?
William looks over at him and is just like,
He's just
what
going.
the heck? And he just goes, pulls his gun out while he's
And-
getting it. And he's all, oh, and just runs away real quick. I was
That's the
just-
Wild West, though, right?
yeah, I was just like,
Yeah, you talk about the Wild West. That was wild. She was getting wild for sure.
dude, it was a moment where I was like, what the hell
No,
is
and
this, dude?
these two guys, we saw each other later. I saw you earlier that
Mm-hmm.
day, and I saw you yesterday. I saw you later
Yeah.
yesterday, and both of you guys, different times, not even having, bringing up. He had said at Mother's Day lunch, he goes, bro, there's gonna be a part where you're just gonna be like, what the heck are you guys watching? And then later that night, I come home and I said I came to talk to Isaiah just to see how
I was
his
in
day
the middle
was.
of watching it.
He was, yeah, and him and Alexa both go, bro, there's a part where you're gonna know and be like, what the heck am I watching?
It's so random. It's so random.
Something that you would not expect. Like,
Yeah.
and then I watched it today, and I said, what the heck?
It's like if you were to equate it to today's time, it would be like you walking through Save Mart and you look down an aisle and all you see is someone go immediately be like, what the hell?
Be like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah. You'd be like, dude, what the So yeah.
Bro.
It's definitely a bro moment for sure.
Yeah.
So one of them, he obviously gets shot, or Thel is her name.
Dude,
They
she was a baddie.
She was nice. They were getting it on. I don't know if they actually did anything or
Yeah.
not.
I think so. He was out of breath.
It was implied.
He was undressed a little
they're
bit.
dressed down to like his
His
chonies.
undergarments.
Yeah. So she straight up takes a bullet for him. He gets shot.
Only knowing him for 12 hours.
Seriously.
That's loyalty.
He's got the bullet lodged in his chest, right? He takes out the other dude, runs out the window, steals the horse.
He
Pinto.
flops out that window, dude.
Dude, he flops out that
He
window.
goes, "Ooh," gets clotheslined by the thing.
It almost looked like practical. Like Johnny Depp actually did that, dude. I was dying how he fell.
Yeah.
But the other bro moment comes in when he meets Nobody. He passes out off his horse, and Nobody's straight up digging his dirty knife
His
into
dirty
his heart.
knife,
into his
dude.
open wound.
And he's going,
straight up-
Yeah, and all that Johnny Depp's
just-
character does is just goes.
yeah, he does.
All he does is, dude. I was like, say something, dude.
That's how I feel when I eat bite into a hot pocket. You go,
yeah,
Yeah.
you know that. That's what he was feeling.
Seriously.
that reminded me of that part whenever nobody puts on his hat and he's all.
Yeah, what was he doing that for?
He was trying to act like.
He was trying to act like.
White man.
He was trying to act like William or something, act like a white guy.
Yeah.
But I was dying. He's all.
Yeah.
Dude, oh man, it's so funny.
So full of style, man.
Yeah, I was dying at that.
Yeah.
You guys all. That's all for me.
Oh,
Okay.
dude, I got so many more bro moments.
Yeah, I have almost all of mine are of just the bounty hunters.
Okay, so my first one, I guess, involving the bounty hunters is when Johnny the Kid gets killed by Cole.
Dude!
Just when they find out that they're not the only ones searching for him, and
Yeah.
they're not the only ones that are going to get rewarded if William is found dead or alive. Johnny gets pissed, and he's like, well, "What am I doing? I'm up Crap Creek. Like, I'm what am I doing here with my time? I'm spending my time between a guy that doesn't shut up and a guy that never talks."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Man, I'm thirsty. This is ridiculous." So he bends down to get some water or something, and Cole, he says something to him, and I believe Johnny the Kid says,
Oh,
like,
no, he
man."
says, don't drink that. It's bad for your health.
Yeah, and he says like, "F you" or something.
He goes, F
And
me.
Cole just goes, "F me," bang, and just shoots him in the back of the head, and goes,
Execution style, dude.
"Yeah." And I was just like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, just killed
You
him."
guys were a team.
Yeah, just killed them, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, I thought if anything, it'd be that other guy
Yeah.
would be the one killing them off to get the money. He
Yeah.
seemed like more of a
Backstabber.
yeah, backstabber.
He looked like Micah on Red Dead Redemption.
He
Red
did.
Dead Redemption 2.
He was the guy that was saying, yeah, you know that guy over there? He F-balled his parents. He's like, what, both of
He
them?
killed both of his parents. Effed them. Like, it was just all, both of them? Yeah, mother, father, both parents. Effed them.
I
It
was
was
like,
all right. He's like, and then he ate him.
yeah. He's talking, yeah, and honestly, I think it's true.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about Cole, right?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know. I don't.
And then you see.
Yeah.
He's straight up eating a hand.
Yeah, that's one of my next pro moments. We
Yeah.
get the scene, one of those random, inconsequential scenes of him riding with the other bounty hunter, and he's talking about like, "Oh, I'm from wherever he's from, and I do all this back home. I can't wait," and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then it fades to black, and all of a sudden you hear a "Wah, pow pow,"
Yep.
and immediately you're like, "Dude, he killed him."
Yeah. And then the
killed
next scene, you see he's just eating a straight up arm, and the wrist is all
Flopping
around, and he's all.
He's straight up a cannibal, dude.
Yeah.
I did not expect that
Yeah.
at all.
The legend is true.
Mm-hmm.
Heck
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Another bro moment that I have is freaking Cole squishing that dead Marshall's head, bro.
Yeah, for seemingly no reason.
For no reason whatsoever.
Essentially for his. Or,
For like his pleasure.
yeah,
like
pleasure is
or
the word
like
I was thinking.
or
It
like,
was like-
or like disdain for like religious monuments.
Yeah,
that what it looked like or something. He's like, it looks like a religious ceremony or something.
And then it just goes
like, and the stomp like was not powerful enough.
No,
to constitute that whole man's head squishing like a watermelon.
He
dude.
he just got shot, so he's hard.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
hard.
There's
and
no
the guy
like,
straight goes.
yeah, dude, and like you see the blood come out his nose. I immediately was all, what, dude? What the hell? Like, it doesn't even make sense. There's no way.
No.
I was laughing at that.
Yeah, my next one is nobody getting down in the bear suit, man.
Yeah, seriously.
It's when William is left alone. He's going through. He hears grunting in the woods, and you see like this bear pelt
On top of this woman.
on top of this woman, and you just hear a, and immediately you're
It's
like,
a
oh,
bear.
Yeah, immediately you're
He's
like, oh,
portraying a bear.
the bear's getting this woman, like he's getting eaten. Because I thought I was like, oh shoot, dude, like this woman's getting teared up.
Getting mauled
Yeah,
by
she's
a
getting
bear.
teared up.
She
by,
was getting
she's getting
teared
teared up by nobody.
Because he straight up goes in, dude. I swear I saw some sack.
I did. It did. He's got a big old fat bush, bro. He's running at him. And you see sack, whatever, it's just his butt. He's straight up between his legs.
Yeah, you
bro.
see sack, don't you? You do. I was like, hold on a second. Did I just see nobody's sack right now?
Yeah, dude. He straight up tackles him, puts it on him.
He's lucky that gun was empty too.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, what's happening right now?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
But then they embrace after, and he's like, "Oh, William, it's you." Oh.
And the girl just says like random. She speaks in
yeah,
his
she
tongue.
speaks in I think it's Blackfoot.
I have no
and
idea.
There's a couple other Native American languages that are spoken that I found in the trivia section about this film, but she speaks some sort of Native American dialect that
forever too.
that we don't know or understand. It's like specifically left uninterpreted.
And he just goes, "Oh, she didn't mean to call you that." And he's like, "What do you mean? I don't understand."
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was one of big ones for me. I was like, "What is happening?"
The last one that I have written down was when nobody trades William's eyeglasses.
Oh, okay.
And it like he takes them and he's like, I need my eyeglasses back. And he's like, I traded them. And he's all, why? Like, he's like, I forget what he says he traded them for.
I can't
or something
remember.
like that.
Probably tobacco.
Yeah. Or and then he asks him, like, do you have tobacco? And he says, I traded it.
Yep.
And he says, for what? You don't have tobacco. And he says, I'm not going to tell you. And he's
Liar.
Liar.
And he goes,
Thief.
"Thief." Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
My last bro moment is nobody getting shot by Cole
Okay.
at the end.
Right at the end.
Yeah, I was sad about it.
I wasn't expecting that.
I really wasn't either, because he finally gets sent off on the boat, and you think this is his final resting place. No, you had that kind of heartfelt goodbye. He's like, you're returning where the spirits come from and where they return to, and he sends him off like Valhalla style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you see Cole come up from behind, and immediately I'm like, no,
It's
dude,
like
no.
a fat wide shot too. So he just like kind of walks in
Yeah,
and just goes, tries to shoot
he
William
misses,
at
right?
first. He tries to shoot William at first and misses, and then they both turn their sights on one another.
And both fall to the ground.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna hate on me, or you're gonna laugh at me, and you're gonna be like, "Bro, why are you thinking that?" But when I saw him sending him away in the canoe, do you guys remember that song? If I die young, bury me inside, lay me down in a bed of roses. I was playing that in my head while I was going away.
Shotgun, short line.
That'll ruin all dramatic tension. Just hearing that song.
Is Johnny Depp float away?
If I die.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought about that, but I saw that and then I saw nobody get shot and I said, "Oh."
That's
and then I was like, "Okay, I gotta pay attention to the movie again."
That's funny.
yeah.
Why I thought about it, like I said, I don't know.
Yeah. That's I wish I went to it thinking that, because I was just sitting there
My
like,
mind goes to random places.
Yeah,
I was
was
like,
sitting
dude,
there at the
finally,
end, like
let's go.
I was like, "Is it gonna end?" I was waiting, dude.
come
Like,
on.
I'm sitting there waiting. I was like, "It's gotta end now."
Yeah.
And then as soon as I saw it turn black, it faded to black, and I was like, "It's done this 500,000 times. Like, I don't know if it's gonna go into another scene." And then it went to credits. I was like, "Oh, thank God, dude!" And I turned the movie off and went to sleep after. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I finished this movie, and I go in the kitchen. I tell Alexa, and I said, "I think I lost brain cells watching this movie." And she goes, "Yeah, dude, why'd you make me watch this movie?" I said, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, oh man. This is one of the only times where I sat there, I saw the time left. I had like 30 minutes left and I was like, dude, please be over. Just please be over. Especially like the last 20 minutes.
Yes, the last 20 minutes are a grueling
Grueling to get
Like-
through. It's just Johnny Depp going,
Oh, I thought you said brutal,
Walking
'cause I
around
was
going,
about to do
brutal. It is brutal.
Yeah.
And it's just him like fading in and out of consciousness, looking at the
the Native
cloud,
American people and the
people.
clouds, and yeah, the whole time.
I said, get it over with, dude.
Yeah, there was a point where I think I texted you privately, and I said, "Bro, I'm barely halfway through this movie, and I feel like I've been here for 2 hours."
Yeah.
And
I'm
like,
done.
yeah, and like right around that point, whenever he gets to that Native American village, and he's like just walking around like this, like holding on to nobody, I checked the time, and it's like, "Oh, you have 20 minutes left," and I was like, "For what, dude? Like, I feel like the story is done. Like,
What
they're-
story?
Like,
The question.
the movie should be finished by now."
Yeah. You didn't need all this like backstory on where they get the canoe and how they get there, and they go into this random building and all these people are staring at him. I
Yeah.
was like, dude, just go to the boat and be done.
Yeah. I was,
Light him on fire, push him off, and be done.
And lay him down in a bed of roses.
Lay him down and be done.
serious. All right. Well, if that's it for the bruh moments,
Yes.
what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do for the facts?
Okay.
Yeah, let me hit you with the budget. And this is a really interesting budget. $9 million estimated to make this. Opening weekend, it only made $104,000. Gross for U.S. and Canada made $1,037,000.
Mhm.
Gross for worldwide, this is gonna shock you guys. It made a grand total of $1,085,000.
Dude, like that's
It's a flop.
that's such a flop. And I have this argument that. So first off, I'll back this up by saying I think style in a movie is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a style, or if there's a style to your movie, I will immediately like it because I can pick it up. Like I think of like Romeo and Juliet, that 90s version with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, I would say which one?
Like there's a style to that movie, and I love it for the style it has, like this like modern like gunfights, and they're
I
like,
love it and hate it.
And there's a part of me where I'm like I love this whole like style and aesthetic of like the gunfights, and then being like, "Art thou Capulet or are you Montague?" You know, and like speaking in Old English, like I love that. And then there's other movies like this, where the style is just so it's more about the style than it is about the actual story, and it loses the story in trying to find what the style is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so the argument I was going to have is I think style is important to have in a film. And if you make a movie that is very culturally relevant and ends up not making money, then I would argue that it is more impactful. Right? Like I think of a movie like Kids. Like it is a very big indie film, but it had such a big impact on culture and on like skateboarding culture, and like it gets referenced a ton like in popular culture and rap, and like Supreme, the clothing brand, has come out with like multiple collaborations with the directors and writers and the film, and like it's a very culturally relevant thing, and it was a flop as well. That can't be said for this movie. Like this movie is not, or at least I don't see the cultural impact or cultural relevancy.
I haven't heard a single drop
to even constitute it being like, oh man, well it's so much style, and like, you know, it being a flop has nothing to do with like the movie itself. Like no, it being a flop and seeing the numbers and everything also constitute what I think this movie is.
Yeah.
And like I can understand why nobody wanted to see this, dude, because like it's there's just nothing to it. Like it makes no sense. There's no plot. Like the whole time you're just kind of like, all right, what's going to happen next? I have no idea. Like I feel nothing for any of the characters. Like yeah, it's the whole time. Like I think this is one of the things where, like, I'll get back to my original point before I digress more. I think this is one of those instances where the flop, it also constitutes how I feel about the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So only 1 million.
Only 1 million.
Yikes, man. The only, I will bring it up because you talk about style, and I think one of the things that I can say about this director is that he's consistent. Because you'd bought me the movie Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, that stars Forrest Whitaker. I thought it was good, but it definitely has the same DNA as this film. When you see some of the action scenes, you're like, oh, dude, it's exactly the same. Like, it just feel like some of the impact is missing, or it's like very delayed.
Yeah,
and it's very like
in this movie, like people will get shot
and they go, wow.
Yeah, or like people will get shot and you'll be like, that felt like it had no impact.
Exactly. It's a little bit the same way with Ghost Dog. And the fact I have here is Gary Farmer, the guy who plays nobody in this film, he also reprises his role in Ghost Dog. And he says the same quote that he normally says where he goes, effing white men.
Oh.
He says the exact same thing in Ghost Dog.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see him kind of carry that same consistency through both of these films.
Okay.
I'm not sure why, but he does. So if you've seen that movie, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay. So the only fact that I have down for this film is that Neil Young did the score for this film. And I really enjoyed it at first.
I did too.
At first, it's like, it's this very gritty, dark feeling score. And you're kind of like, oh man, like this is going to serve the film like a lot. And one of the ways that Neil Young recorded the soundtrack for this movie was just straight up by improvising.
Mm-hmm.
Like he straight up would have an electric guitar, some acoustic guitar, piano, and organ and stuff, and he would watch the edited version of the film in a studio and record like while he watched the movie. So he would just improvise like a soundtrack right then and there as he's watching the film, and then would perfect it a little bit, and then come back and be like, okay, this is going to be for this part of the film or this
That's so
portion
cool.
and all that stuff. And I think that like Neil Young's score is one of the saving graces of this film.
Definitely agree. Did you feel that way, Abraham?
We were talking about it before you came in. I liked the score, but it got kind of annoying.
It does get stale.
It does.
I will say it does get stale because it just feels like
It's
the
kind of
same. It feels like the same thing.
It
He's in the
feels
same
over-repeated.
range.
Yeah.
He does that whole like that, like
And I think I think that's what annoyed me was hearing because it reminded me of the good, the bad, the good, and the ugly, but this was his version of it.
Oh, okay.
Like he was like, I'm gonna do something similar to that, but I'm gonna make it mine. And it was always a.
One of the things that reminded me of watching it was, you get that soundtrack or that guitar riff or whatever it is kind of towards the end of that 5-minute block, and it'll fade out to black, and it felt like almost like a sitcom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you hear the and it goes to a whole nother scene with more characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's exactly what it felt like to me, at least towards that later half of the movie. I was like,
That's so funny. I'm imagining the like scenes fading into one another and then it being like and then being
What's
like
that show
and then
that
being
you
like,
watch?
so what's the deal with airline food? You know?
What's the show that you watch?
Curb Your Enthusiasm? Is that what you're talking about?
I think so. Where the song, where that music is from?
The
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think about when you say that.
It just
Curb Your Enthusiasm is goated though. It's so funny, man. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. Shout out Larry David.
Yep.
Well, I have 2 facts, and this one was kind of crazy. So this film is part of the Criterion Collection, Spine number 919, which I thought is wild.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy too because he had, like you had said, there's another film that he has in the Criterion Collection as well, which is Ghost Dog.
Yeah,
no?
Ghost Dog.
I was gonna say I thought I had bought it on Criterion for you.
You did.
Yeah. And then the second one is the passage that Salvatore, Sally, Janko, who is Iggy Pop, reads from the Bible is 1 Samuel 17:46. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee.
Yeah.
Is what he says. But that's all I got.
Yeah, man, I'm all out of facts over here. It's a lot of it refers a lot to some
William
of the
Blake's poetry.
that I'm just way over my head on that stuff. So I'll
Yeah.
leave that to the
For the birds.
for the bird.
All right. Well, if that's it for facts, what didn't work in this movie?
Bro, where's the story in this movie?
Yeah, I've kind of already said this, but I'll reiterate your point in that this movie just feels empty.
Yeah.
I feel like I had nothing to connect to. The movie felt like there was no plot. I was just watching these characters travel and interact with the world. Nothing really kept me invested in the story or the characters.
Yeah.
Like there was just nothing there to be like, oh man, I hope this guy succeeds, or this guy's actually a bad guy. I want him to pay for what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
There's just nothing there to really drive home the fact that we should care about anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with the whole structure of blocking the scenes and having that vignette go from fading black to not, it really kind of, I was not being able to be invested because
I truly think that that those adding all those fade ins, fade outs,
Made it worse?
that probably added, no joke, maybe 5 minutes onto the film. Just the fade in and fade outs.
Oh, 100%. I agree.
it was hard to stay invested in the characters and in the action because
There's no way you can.
yeah,
because
there's no continuous scenes.
It just felt like closure.
It
Like
did.
there was nothing exactly. Like I like that you said that there was no continuous scenes because it feels like we witness a moment and then that moment's gone,
Mm-hmm.
and that moment is then, and we're at this new moment now, and you have to sit there and witness this new thing, and then whenever it closes, okay, now forget about that. Here's this new one.
It's hard to keep interest in a movie that just continually is like, oh, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop.
Yeah.
It's the momentum and the pacing was all wacky in this.
Yeah. I think that leads into another one of my reasons for what didn't work is that I think that this movie feels so long.
It does. It does.
Like, this movie is only 2 hours long. I have watched movies that are much longer
And that don't
that
feel.
that
Don't
don't
feel
feel
that
like
long.
that way at all. Like, I think of immediately Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That movie,
That movie feels like it's only an hour, but
That
it's
movie-
like 3 hours, right?
That movie is close to 3 hours long, and the whole time I am sitting there, bright-eyed, like cheek to cheek smile, like watching the whole thing. I'm like, dude, I love this. This is great.
It's such a good movie.
The length factor here does not matter to me because there's stuff to keep me invested the whole time. But with this one, it was only 2 hours, and I felt like I was there for 3.5.
It's because it's so bloated with scenes that made no sense, or
Yeah.
it added nothing to the plot. It was all just surreal, dreamlike, but never gave any substance.
Exactly. And I think that there's the other thing too, like there would be just scenes that would just drone on for like too long or for longer than they needed to.
I just
like-
don't think they needed to do the cutting out.
Well, like there are certain scenes where like it will just like the scene at the time will be two characters talking, and then it'll show like this like shot of the woods that they're in, and then focus on one aspect of the woods that they're in, and then go back to the characters, and then back to the woods again, and all this stuff. And it's like, cut the fat. Like this scene does not need to go on for as long as you think it does, dude. You could be so much more concise with your runtime and get what you need to say out, but they choose to be kind of like almost like artsy with it, and you know it doesn't pay off.
No.
Yeah, I had told Alexa that I immediately when I first moved, I said this movie is a cat and mouse chase with no story. It's almost Tom and Jerry with no story.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry has Tom and who?
Tom and Tori
Tom and Jerry
have stories.
have stories, and they're really. I mean, you get to see all the action, and it's nice.
That's
to
what
watch.
this was basically.
Yeah.
At least in my eyes, but with no story.
Even then, if it is Tom and Jerry interact with one another.
They
These
do.
guys don't even interact
Yeah.
with one another until the very end. And even so,
It's
the
not
guy's
even-
like 50 feet away.
It's not even that rewarding.
No.
It's not. I also don't like the character development of Johnny Depp. I didn't really believe him because he was like really timid in the
I don't
beginning.
think he even had a character development. I thought-
They want you to believe
they-
that he becomes this like mercenary.
No.
Yeah, William Blake,
I
the
thought
legend. He's becoming a legend.
But
right?
the whole time I'm like, dude,
I just don't believe it.
I don't believe it. It just feels like you're just defending yourself.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like
Exactly. Like the only reason that we get that even any sort of semblance of him being like this legend type character is when he comes out and kills those marshals.
Yep.
And even then, it's kind of like, oh, you just had a change of heart. Like there was like no lead up or any sort of arc
none.
to get you to that point. It was just kind of like this, like, oh man, yeah, these guys were coming after me, so I got them and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, oh, these guys are. Do you like my poetry? Bang!
Yeah.
Like,
For some reason, I don't know. I felt like, again, he was defending himself the entire time. So whenever it tries to push the idea of, oh, William Blake, this mercenary outlaw worth $200,000 on his head, I'm like, but it's all a misunderstanding. He didn't even like mean to. Well, I guess he did, but he was kind of defending himself with a guy who just pulled the gun and shot at him. You know what I mean? Like he had to defend himself. He shot him, but he didn't know who he was. He didn't. You know what I mean? So it was almost like an accident from the beginning, and now he's running for his life on this whole misunderstanding accident because he gets charged for killing Thel, and he didn't even do it.
yeah.
So it's all like this big accident. No, I just feel like he's just continually running from his accident and not like growing into this mercenary. You know what I mean? And like learning to like killing,
Yeah.
like some of the bounty hunters do. And I'm just sitting here like, are you trying to get me to feel that way? I don't. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Yeah.
So it's not effective.
Okay. Anything else for what didn't work for you guys?
Just this whole movie.
I had put down that there's so many weird choices in how they portray death in the film. Like a lot of the ways that like just people die, like it feels like there's just because they lack such character development, it feels like just like an empty shell of a person died and if there was no weight to it. Like I already brought up the way that those two marshals die. Like he straight up shoots one in the gut and the guy goes ah and shoots his partner.
Friendly fire's on, dude.
Like and it kills him.
Friendly fire's on.
And or like the same thing with like Johnny the Kid. Like when he gets shot in the back of the head, like execution style, it feels like there's just nothing. Like
Yeah.
it feels like people are so disposable in this. They have no weight to them. And it was it was just a weird choice.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's just a lack of writing or the way, you know, that the actual death is shown on screen. Like, I'm not sure where to place that. But
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've gotten all my kind of gripes throughout this episode so far. You have anything to add?
No.
all right. Well, let's get into what did work then.
Okay. I will say some of the cinematography is pretty great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of the cinematography and the black and white.
I
I
love
was
the
gonna
black
say,
and white.
I like the black and white, and I can't imagine it in color.
I can't either. I think
it looks nice in black and white.
I do too.
I'll be honest. I think if this movie was in color, it'd be a lot more corny.
It would be horrible.
Oh, it'd be 100% more corny.
But it wasn't like the very contrasty black and white either. It was more like a gray scale.
Yeah,
Because, you know, they do close-ups on Johnny Depp's face. And for some reason, I can almost like see his skin tone coming out. It's all gray, but it's like there's a quality about it that is, I don't know, maybe it's just my mind trying to, like, I know his skin color, so it's just, but I don't know, for some reason I liked it a lot.
What color do you think his suit was? I like to think it was like a brown.
I wanted to say like a brown green.
Yeah,
I thought it was like a purple.
Really?
Yeah, I for some reason I envisioned purple.
I envisioned like a brown with the stripes being orange.
I immediately thought like green and brown.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
mean,
imagined
we
it being ugly because it was ugly.
It was ugly. You look
They
like a
said
clown.
he looked like a clown.
Yeah,
He did. But there's even shots too where it does like first person and they're on the horse, but the camera's
you
moving.
you see the horse's ears.
Yeah, and but it's beautiful what they show though. Like the actual environment, I loved these scenes.
Yeah,
Because I was like, man, they're capturing some beauty right here, true nature,
Mhm.
which I thought worked.
yeah. There was a certain shot too that I thought was really cool. I think it was whenever William interacts with, is it Mr. Dickinson the first time? And it's like a first person shot and you just see this gun just go
Mm-hmm.
pull up in front of the camera and you're like, oh, this is kind of like a first person shot right now. It was cool. I
Yeah.
thought it looked cool. It almost reminded me kind of like Doom. Like the old Doom video games where it's just like this first person, you just see the gun.
The gun right in front of your face.
Yeah.
Or have you ever seen those videos where it's so bad? There's like you see the fake gun and they like when they shoot they just go and it looks so fake. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
It's gave me some of that vibe to it.
Yeah.
But there's also another camera shot where, you know, he just gets denied and he's walking out and he's trying to find his way out. And the camera is positioned in the corner of a room and it follows him. Like there's two directions he goes. It follows him one direction but doesn't move farther. He goes out and we're just staring at nothing for a couple seconds. He comes back and the camera continues to follow to the right direction. And I was like, this is cool. I mean, there's
Yeah.
some like they're trying to do at least something to keep me interested here,
Yeah.
which I liked.
Yeah. That is interesting. I also really enjoyed that this movie tried to have style. Or this movie does have style.
It does.
It I won't even say it tried to because it does have style, but it just it prioritizes the style over everything that a movie should be.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't have any variety in that style either.
No, it just kind of it knows what it needs or it knows what the style it knows what it wants,
Mhm.
I guess. And it just stays there in that lane the whole time.
Yeah.
The only other thing too, I did enjoy Neil Young's score to a degree. After a while, it does start to get like,
It weighs me down.
all right, like I've heard this same thing, like
Yeah.
10 times already.
and I'm waiting for some variety
Mm-hmm.
to happen,
Yeah.
and there's just not a lot going
I
on.
was glad you brought that up too because, like I said before we even hit record was, I liked it, but it was just a little bit too repetitive.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like I mean, the first half I was like, "Oh, dude, this is kind of the reason why I'm engaged is because I'm hearing this like it sounds so sick." And there's scenes too where the tension's building and you just hear the guitar go dum 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 dum
Yeah.
dum dum dum, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm feeling something finally. Like it's because of the soundtrack that I'm actually engaging with the film. And then you notice that it's the same riffs, it's the same thing over and over and over, and you're just like okay, I get it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
it's like listening to your favorite song over and over and over. At some point, you're just gonna be like,
All right,
I've
I'm
heard-
over it.
I've heard enough. I'm
Yeah.
done. You know.
Yeah,
But that first half, it really worked for me.
yeah. What else did work for you guys?
That's it for me.
Okay, that's it for me as well.
There wasn't much that worked.
There's nothing that really blows me away about the acting or writing or directing or anything, unfortunately, here.
It's all typical.
Just kind of floppish.
Run of the mill.
Mediocre.
Yeah. All right, who wins this movie?
I put nobody.
Nobody, like no one
I
in the
think-
film? Or,
He's like,
or
no, cricket's no one, dude.
like Gary
No,
Farmer?
Gary Farmer.
Yeah, I wrote him down as well.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
If anything
I
at the
should've
end of this,
specified.
anything at the end of this movie, Gary Farmer playing nobody is the most memorable.
He's the one who actually is acting, though. Johnny Depp is straight up. He has some, but then he's like passing out the entire time,
Yeah.
like dying the entire time, just going, holding his little hole,
Yeah, going-
just holding
His hole filled with dirt.
it straight up. So I'm just, you got to give it to Gary Farmer here.
yeah.
You have to.
All right, what are some themes?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't write anything down, and I was trying to find something online right now.
Okay.
I couldn't find anything.
How do you get a theme from
From a movie that has basically no plot.
basically no plot? I mean, you can kind of bring up that whole theory that you had sent, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, and I think I was going to.
Okay.
So there was an analysis on YouTube that I had watched in regards to somebody kind of breaking down this film and what they think it means. And they had essentially brought up the theory that William Blake is essentially in purgatory, and that there are multiple things that hint to this being the case. Like, for instance, that trained fireman, whenever he says like, "Oh, why'd you come all this way to hell?" and all this stuff, and nobody referencing William as a dead man and saying, "Oh, you really are a dead man," or William Blake has been dead for blah blah blah. And so the whole theme that, or at least the point of this analysis was to just drive home the fact that William Blake as a character is on this journey in purgatory, and he's like sort of repaying for his past sins, and so he has to go through this whole spiritual journey to, at the end, to get that release, or to be released from purgatory and to either go to, heaven or hell, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But I that's like summarizing a lot of it. Like, there's a lot of things that go into the film about like certain characters being symbolic for other things, or certain shots, like the shot of Johnny Depp like cuddling that dead fawn is like said to be like, oh, that's because like in a past life he had killed his wife and child, and he already repaid for one sin by getting shot one time, and he was kind of like regretting that in that moment. And then whenever he gets shot the second time, that's him repaying for the second death that he caused. And now he can go out of purgatory in peace and all this stuff.
That's like stretching it, I feel.
Yeah,
like.
and there was a lot of it where I was just kind of like, I feel like this is reaching like a lot. I buy into the theory that, this is a film about a dead man, literally, going through purgatory and going through the spiritual journey to try to find peace or make peace with the life that he lived. But I don't have the mental bandwidth to go through it again and see like the merit to that theory.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of the times if I go through a movie and I watch an analysis and somebody has an interesting theory about what the film might be, it gives me like some vigor to go back to the film and be like, oh, like I gotta watch it to re-see that, or this gives me a whole new appreciation for the film. It's not the case for this one.
No way.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that like I really like. I think immediately of like The Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
When I left The Lighthouse, I was like, "What was that movie about?" I have no idea, but I liked it. And then when I went home and I did a ton of research and I watched analysis videos and read theories online and on Reddit and stuff, I was like, "This movie's sick!" Like I want to go watch it with this and having this knowledge again and pick it apart and then come to my own conclusion.
Yeah.
And that made me love The Lighthouse more.
Yeah, it's not the same here.
No.
Not at all. The one thing I will say that I was just now thinking, so I had done a little bit of research on who William Blake is, and he's this engraver, poet, artist, all that stuff from the 1800s, I think. And I had read like a biopsy of it, or like a whole
biography.
Yeah, biography of his life, and one of the facts was that he was more of like against the Industrial Revolution, and he was more of like wanted to point back to naturalism, and kind of thinking about that in the whole film, and thinking about how William Blake goes to a town called Machine
Mm.
and gets immediately turned down, and you immediately notice that the camera focuses solely on like you're in the wilderness and you're seeing like they intentionally have camera shots of POV of them walking through this beautiful forest. You know what I mean? I immediately think, oh, maybe they did that for a specific reason and to focus more on the naturalness of the world instead of following the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Which could be.
Go ahead.
It could be rewarding if you knew that about William Blake beforehand.
Yeah, that's true. It also could show too, like whenever he gets to the town of Machine, just kind of showing just what kind of like slum it is.
Yeah.
And being like, yeah, this is the reason for all of this. Like, because of this big factory that we have here, like it's causing all of this turmoil and, it's causing this city this little town to become like a piece of trash.
Yeah.
So
Maybe it might have been a meta commentary on the Industrial Revolution and its effects.
interesting. Anything else?
I don't have anything.
That's
Okay.
it for me.
That's it.
All right. What are we rating this film?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I would love for you to go first, Abraham.
I gave this wonderful movie a 3.
Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to give it a 3 as well, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'll bandwagon on you guys and say
3? Yeah.
it's just there's nothing for me to go rewatch.
No, there's
Like, I guess I can say like I'm not mad that I watched it. Like it's just I just don't really see the point. Like
yeah.
when I read all these people's high praise for the film, I'm kind of like I just don't see that.
Yeah.
It's
I get you.
And I think the same thing too. Like when I love a movie and I read comments and they're like, "Oh, this movie sucked." It's like, how did it was the greatest?
Yeah.
You know.
That's probably what people are probably cringing, saying like, "No, you don't get it. You don't get it."
Yeah.
But I don't. I admit that I
I'm
don't get it.
I'm vocal about
Yeah.
that.
I don't get it, and it was not my kind of movie.
Yeah.
Definitely not for me,
Yeah.
and I won't return to it.
My brother, I usually I like to watch watch this movie with my brother, my older brother, just 'cause it's like a time that we can spend together.
Yeah.
And so he actually texted me like an hour before we recorded. He was like, "Hey, are we gonna watch the movie today?" And I said, "No, I'm glad you didn't watch this movie."
Yeah. Spared him.
Yeah.
Spared him 2
Now he's out.
4 mental hours. It felt like
Yeah, seriously.
Now he's out there watching Doctor Strange.
Oh, nice.
multiverse. That's a whole nother crazy movie right there.
All right.
But
Well,
that's the movie.
yeah, that's the end of the episode,
Yeah,
you guys. So
that's it.
if you did stick all the way to the end, make sure that you are leaving us a like, sharing the YouTube videos, subscribing, commenting. It really lets us know that you guys are liking what we're doing, what we can do better. It also, interact with the community that we've got here, man. It's been really interesting seeing everybody just, communicate with one another and just, again, showing love for this little tiny, town of Machine community that we got. We've got a tiny little town all for us, and it's really cool seeing all you guys support the podcast and all that stuff. So we really do appreciate you guys listening, and again, doing this stuff and interacting with the content lets us know that you guys are liking what we're doing or what we could do better. So if you're watching it on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff, turn the bell on so that way you know whenever we post. If you're listening on audio, leave us a rate and review. It helps not only show other people that what we're doing is of merit, but it also, allows us to get better at what we're doing. So it does help out whenever you guys do that. So thank you guys so much for doing so.
Yeah.
As always, you can follow us on Instagram, Letterboxd. If you ever want to get in contact with us or anything like that, all of our methods of contact are in every episode description. So check those out if you do want to do so. But other than that, I think we're going to go ahead and reveal the next pick, which is mine.
Yes, sir.
And
What have you got for us?
We're going to be doing a movie called Punch Drunk Love. It's another serious role from Adam Sandler. I think it came out around like 2004 or 2005.
I think it was 2004.
2004. I'll get an exact date here real quick. No, I was actually earlier, 2002.
2002. Okay.
Yeah, and I love this movie, man. I remember the first time I watched it. It was on Netflix at the time, and then guess what they did? Yep, took it off. So I watched it on Netflix for the first time. I'd heard about it a lot. I always wanted to check it out. And I remember watching it with Alexa and really loving it and like immediately falling in love with the film and just having a good time watching it. And it was actually the first movie that I ever owned on Criterion Collection.
Really?
Oh, is it
Yeah.
Criterion Collection as well?
Yeah, it was gifted to me for my birthday. And I was so hyped when I got it because that was my first introduction to what the Criterion Collection is, and all the little supplements that come with the film and everything, and seeing all this stuff. It was a super cool moment for me. And it is streaming currently on Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, it is streaming there for free. But it's a great movie, man, and I'm excited to break it down with you guys and watch it. It's your guys' first time watching it, correct?
Yeah, it'll be my
Yes.
first time watching it. And we've talked about it before because you actually had told me to watch it just because you think I'd like it. So I'm excited to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just love Adam Sandler when he's playing serious roles. So I'm excited to see what he has to bring here. And it's with Emma Watson I'm looking at. Emily Watson
Emily Watson.
as, I think her name is
Yes.
Lena.
Yeah. Yes. She plays the love interest. Philip Seymour Hoffman is in it as well.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. A couple other people. It's a really fun movie, and it's also very romantic.
Punch Drunk
And-
Love.
Yeah, and it's very wholesome. Like there are parts in it that just make my heart warm, and then there are other parts where I laugh like real hard, and other parts where I'm like sympathetic with Adam's character, and it's a really great movie. I'm excited for you guys to watch it.
Yeah.
So, tune in next week and hear what we have to say about Punch Drunk Love. Were you gonna say something?
Nope. Good.
All right. Yeah. As always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you guys, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.